You would think the pundits that comprise the Spanish football reporting pool would learn by now that I am here at High to stay. I didn't turn down interviews at BVB, Man City, Tottenham, and good grief, one other team, which I'm totally forgetting, but I'm almost positive I have a screenshot of it, to finish last in La Liga again. We've had 2 mid-table finishes, and yet we're still tipped to finish 20th and get relegated. And this year, I'm almost positive it's not going to happen. My name's FM20, and it's time to get Réal. It's the strangest thing. I've been asking for a loan manager for the better part of, 2 seasons now? Almost 3? Since we got to La Liga 2 and I started sending out 15 players at a time. And the board kept saying, no, we don't see the need for one. We don't see the need for one. And I'm bumping along during the transfer window, and all of a sudden the screen pops up, and it's, hey, you want to take a look at these coaches to improve your squad. You want to hire this physio to improve the care of your team. And it said, hey, you want to hire a loan manager because you have a loan manager slot. And lo and behold, I went and looked at my staffing. I had 2 more scouts and 3 more coaches. I never got a notification for that. So I got a loan manager in. And then, of course, we had a decent amount of turnover in the coaching ranks. Xavier Tamarit, who's probably one of the better scouts in the game, got swiped by Getafe. He didn't want to stay. I let go of Johnny Metgod, and Luis Casas was my former chief scout. And then the other guys were coaches. We brought in Miguel, a Bella something or other. His name was really long, so I had to delete half of it so I could get my information in there. Really good scout. Hugo Relvis is my new assistant coach. I really like him. And let's see. I'll just hover over him like this. Oscar Alcorta is one of my new youth coaches. He is fabulous. Bruno Maruda is my new chief scout. And I have to edit his name. But yeah, he's quite the pickup. Marc Deschamps is my loan manager, and he is absolutely brilliant at the moment. He has turned down more than one bad loan deal, and has gotten a couple others that have been worked out really, really well. The 15-man management and the 17 negotiating have come in really, really handy for him. Milo Sestic is a scout I hired just for a year or 2. He is your Eastern European guy. And Giacomo Pelosi is another scout from Italy. One of the reasons I brought him in is because his adaptability is so high. I know I can send him out to other countries, and he will pick it up pretty quickly. And then Santi Troterio is one of my new data analysts. Solid guy. Released players. Joel Powell, Ruben Garcia are probably the only starters, or sometimes starters, that people might recognize. Ruben Garcia is the right back who had a decent amount of time here, but he never really put it together. And he had the one season where he had 14 appearances and 5 assists, and there are always better options out there. He was a good backup, but he was never really a starter, as I'm clicking all over the place again like usual. Good grief. One back. There we go. All the others are youngsters who they got on the B squad, and even then that was kind of a reach for them. Free transfers. A lot of free transfers, and some of these were absolutely stellar. Morton Singshire from Manchester City. 3-star current ability, 5-star potential ability midfielder. Plays a really good central midfielder, also plays a good ball-winning midfielder and deep-line playmaker. 20 years old. Solid physicals, really good mentals. I think the 3-flare bothers me a little bit, but I'm not quite sure why. But I love the 16 teamwork. And the 19 bravery and the 17 aggression is absolutely great. 12 determination is good for this level as well. The mentals are solid. I can't complain about him for the role-specific skills. He's really good. 13 first touch, 14 passing, 12 tackling, 12 technique. 20 years old. He's only going to get better. He's got a decent amount of playing time so far, as you can see. On a free from Man City. I don't know why they let him go. Predrag Smiljovic. Predrag comes to us from AS Monaco with Traore out, and I'm not quite sure how good Traore is going to be when he comes back. I needed a quality backup, and as you can see down here, he's been a very quality backup. He's gotten the start. Traore is still not back yet. 21 years old, 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential ability, playing the advanced forward. Physically, quick, can run all day, can outrun most anybody, and, you know, at 5'9", 152 pounds, he's going to have to outrun everybody. Mentally, great where it counts. 15 aggression, 15 composure, 13 determination, 13 flair, 14 leadership, 12 vision. The work rate's a bit low. The positioning could use some improvement, and that's going up a little bit. Technically, 12 dribbling, 10 finishing, 16 first touch. Maybe not the best combination, but the 12 technique does help a little bit with that. But he will definitely see a lot of playing time. Ruiman is a youth player that I brought in to help the under-19s. I did a couple other things with youth players this season that, to be honest, I stole from Viking Dan. I watched his stream and I took a bunch of notes because he had a really good way of finding some youth players. And we're going to go over that here in just a second. Réal, another youth player brought in just for depth. And Igor Lopez, the last youth player brought in just for depth. Loan deals. Got a ton of players out on loan. Dinsulo went to Ostend, and he's sitting there. They guaranteed him a starting job, and he's not. And frankly, I'm not all upset by that. The other one I loaned out that I was kind of having questions about was Marcelo Salinas, my young Peruvian winger. I let him go to get first-team playing time because he was going to be a backup here mostly. And I want to get him first-team playing time so he can develop. And that's also because I brought in a couple other players as well. Jad is getting older, and he's slowing down a little bit. He's more of a backup this year. So, cash and clause transfers. On the outs, we gained $8.75 million. On the ins, we spent $17.75 million. Brighton made an unsolicited offer for Julian Rusev, and he jumped all over it. He left for €6 million. 6 million euros rather. David Alonso went to Tenerife for £115,000. Kike Clemente was just unhappy in the locker room with the absolute crap, and so I put him out there. He went to Osasuna for 1.9 million euros. And then Igor Jurikin, I went back and forth on him. 20 years old. He wasn't really getting any better. I think he's got potential. He's just not going to get it here. I've got better players who are just as young as he is with a bigger upside, and I knew he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time, so part of me thought of putting him out on loan and bringing him back. The other part of me said, you know what, I may as well just move him. We did lose a little bit of money on him. We brought him in for 1.4. We lost him for 850, but we made up for that with players like Rusev, because Rusev, if I remember correctly, came in on a free, and he left for 6 million euros. David Alonso came in on a free, and he left for 150,000 euros. Okay, that wasn't a lot, but still, it's more money than he came in for. Kike Clemente was a free. He was one of my first big free agent signees, and you know, we made almost 2 million euros on him. So, on the ins, and the summer transfer window was a long one. First in, you know what? I'm going to sort by fees here, and hopefully that won't change when I come back to the screen. And plus, I have to go here and show you the Viking Dan. Let's go kidnap some youth player techniques. So you are in your scouting thing. You are going to player search, and in your search, you clear it. And Viking Dan has a filter you can download. I think I created my own. He calls it youth scouting or something similar. You pick your attributes that you're looking for. In this case, with me, it's natural fitness, work rate, teamwork. Yeah. With me, it's natural fitness, off the ball, teamwork, determination, composure. And you set those to 11. And then you pick 4 or 5. And then for additional conditions, you go to personality, professional, or model professional, or I really wish this window would expand, or perfectionist, or resilient, or fairly professional, or fairly determined. Leader, iron-willed. I got 2 determinants in there, driven, charismatic leader, and in a case like Spain where you have registration requirements, EU national. And what that does, and then you also set it, age 15 to 17. So you hit OK, and what that is going to do, at least should do, There it goes. And what that is going to do is bring up all the really good youth players that you have scouted or at least have heard of. So you can see you got Brian Pollicina at Inter, 1.5-star current ability, 5-star potential ability as a striker, 16 years old. And what you do is the ones that are on the lower league teams, as an example, you've got this Dominic Ginzik fellow at Oberliga Westfalen. Now, I know he's 2.5-star current ability because I brought him in on trial. And the nice thing is, if you select a player that you have no scouting knowledge of, like this kid here, he's at, Maximilien Cortesi. He's at FC Metz in Ligue 2, which is the second tier of French football. You make a trial offer for 2 weeks. Any player who is at your squad for 2 weeks, you will get full knowledge of. You don't really need 2 weeks, but that's what you do. And then what happens is you will find youth players who have a ton of potential, who are really, really cheap, or who you can buy really, really cheap in comparison to some of their older compatriots who have similar stats. And that is what we did here. So as I go back to scouting, hey, I kept it the same. For Roberto Fernandez from Chiclana Industrial, which is in the Spanish 4th division. I said, hey, you want to come on trial for 2 weeks? He jumped all over it. 5,750 euros, 1.5-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. He is this good physically, he is this good mentally, and technically, he is not bad. And he is 16 years old. And I have him on my youth squad for a long, long time. One of the other things I did was, I don't know if I did it on him, but I did do it on him. An optional 3-year extension by the club. The minimum release fee clause is really kind of low. Give him a salary raise, his appearance fee. I bumped up his appearance fee a little bit because I do have the money to play with. But almost all of these kids that I brought in, I have a 3-year extended fee on. And it's one of those cases where, okay, I brought him in for 5,750 euros. I'm going to have to do something to really screw up by the numbers to not get my money back if I turn around and sell him. Heck, I could put him out there now and get the 18.25 thousand euros that he's worth. But yeah, he's this good already at 16 years old, professional personality. He's going to get better. I can retrain him as a defensive center back or a midfielder. And there's already 4 clubs interested in having him out on, and getting him out on loan. Jürgen Serra from Werder Bremen came in on a trial. 1.5-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. Not the best physically, not the best mentally, not the best technically, but he's solid. 17 years old. He can definitely get a lot better. Central midfielder, plays almost everything equally well. One of those guys that you would love to have in your squad. Keep on the bench. Hey, I need a deep line playmaker. Hey, I need a ball-winning midfielder. Hey, I need an emergency defensive center back. He will definitely, 6'2", professional personality. I'm not paying him a ton of money. 750 euros a week, which, 4 years ago would have been an absolute ton of money. And I actually walked away from players this year who were wanting like 30 and 35,000 euros a week. Marco Abi from Luzern. 1.5-star kill ability, 4.5-star potential ability. Striker, false 9, pressing forward already. Look at those physicals already. The mentals, 16 bravery, 15 determination, 11 flair, 11 off the ball, 13 teamwork, 17 years old. He's going to get better. Technically, 15 finishing is good, 12 technique is good. Everything else is average or needs work. And he will definitely get that while he's here. For 150,000 euros. Can you really go wrong with that? And he's left-footed, which I absolutely love. If he's here 4 years from now, he will be an absolute fit on that side. Advan Kuduzic comes to us from Red Star. He is the player. Good grief. I finally went to Milos and got him to say, hey, if you would bring this player in, I would be really, really happy. So I went out and I signed Advan Kuduzic. They played together in Red Star. Not the best, 2.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential ability, 27 years old, here as a fringe player. Knows he's here as a fringe player. And I am okay with that. Plays defensive right back really, really well. Plays wing back at defensive right back really, really well. Can play the other 3 positions in a pinch if I need him to. Solid physically, solid mentally. Technically, he's a little lacking in a couple areas for my comfort. Now, the first touch is okay, but he makes up for it with the 13 crossing, the 11 dribbling, 12 marking, 12 passing. He will definitely see some playing time off the bench and in cup games. And hopefully, Milos will improve his attitude, because frankly, it's still in the crapper. Mark Reeth comes to us from FC Nuremberg, 275,000 euros. 1.5 star current ability, 4.5 star potential ability, defensive midfielder, one of those 16 years old. I'll be honest, I am taking a flyer on, but physically, he's pretty solid. Mentally, he's really good, except leadership, and I'm not really worried about leadership. I already got other leaders on the squad. And then technically, he's solid. 16 passing, 15 technique already, 10 first touch as a deep line playmaker, defensive midfielder. You know he's going to get better. Maybe not a lot better, but definitely better. If I lose money on a couple of these kids, I lose money on a couple of these kids. But I think the upside is just too much to pass up. Ronnie Harold from Dynamo Dresden came in on a trial. 750,000 euros going to 1.1 million euros. And I think you'll understand why. 1.5 star current ability, 5 star potential ability. Look at those physicals. 16 years old, professional. The mentals are great. I mean, the flair's a little bit low and the positioning needs work, but I can definitely work on that. 16 determination, 17 teamwork, and technically 15 crossing, 10 first touch. That's not bad. The technique's low, but then again, 16 years old. I think this is one of those where I will definitely see my money's worth. He's already valued at 550,000 euros. And I think this may be one of those where, yeah, optional contract extension and a huge minimum release clause. Because this kid, I think, definitely has potential. Adelson Andrade comes to us from Gil Vicente, which I want to say is in Portugal, a Liga 2 Ledman. Yeah, that's Portugal. I went back and forth on picking him up because, frankly, I have a dearth of midfielders, and picking him up was the one that convinced me to let Jurek go. Plays a really good advanced playmaker. Also plays a bunch of other positions really, really well. Solid physically. The 9 strength is a little bit on the low side. Technically, he's really, really good. Mentally, he's not bad. I mean, I can't complain about an 18 bravery and an 18 flair and a 14 determination. I mean, all the stuff that makes him a good advanced playmaker. All those skills, they're solid. You know, deep line playmaker, they're solid. Roaming playmaker, which I don't use, he's solid. You know, he's one of those guys who he hasn't gotten a game yet, but he will definitely get some games. I'm trying to figure out a midfield rotation for my midfield. I've got a good defensive center back rotation going on, but picking him up was, frankly, the final nail in Jurek's coffin. And then Ivan Mesic from Getafe. I need a defensive center back, 3.5 star current ability, 4 star potential ability, 24 years old. Solid physically, really good mentally, love the 16 determination. Everything else is nice. The vision and the work rate and the teamwork could use a little bit of help, but I'm not too worried about that. I can stick him in the center as a central defender next to the other guys I've brought in, and he will do a job for us. He is currently unhappy because he did not like the coaching changes I made. When I signed him, I said, yeah, I will improve the squad. And you saw the guys I brought in, and he wasn't happy with that. So he came and pitched a fit, and I said, you're still staying. And, you know, if I need to move him next year, I need to move him next year, and I know I can get at least what I paid for him in. Castello Lucaba from Man City. 3 million euros going to 3.8. 22 years old, defensive center back, 3 star current ability, 4.5 star potential ability. I lost Clemente. Mace isn't really getting any better. I've got Milos still learning the position. I needed a good rotation going. And for the money, I think this is a great pickup. He's solid technically. He's solid physically, mentally. I mean, when a 4 flare is your lowest thing, you have nothing to worry about. You know, the crossing could be a little bit better, but I like the 12 first touch. He's a decent header. You know, the marking and tackling are nice. The passing and technique are nice. You know, he's come in and he's contributed right away. Charles Ely Mathis. He was the signee that convinced me to let my Peruvian winger go out on loan. 3-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. 18 years old. Paid $3.3 million for him, going up to 3.8, or 3.5, going up to 3.8, based on, I want to say, game appearances. Physically, I don't want to say run for days, but he can run faster and further than most anyone else in football at the moment. Mentally, he's good where it counts, except for concentration and positioning, and that's something I'm just going to have to do my best to improve on while I can. Normally, I wouldn't take someone who has a 2 in either one of those positions, but everything else about him was just so good, I couldn't pass it up. The bravery and the composure and the flair more than make up for that. He's a balanced personality, so I know those will improve with the right training. Technically, 13 dribbling, 14 first touch, 14 passing, 16 technique. He's played 2 games. He's got 2 assists. I can't complain about that. And then last but not least, I needed to improve the keeper. And I had an angle on, I want to say a Spanish keeper playing for Club America in Mexico. He came across, I think one of my scout in South America found him. And he came across, and at last season when I still had 6 million euros in the transfer budget, I went there and I made an offer that was literally, hey, here's 5 million euros now. Here's 5 million euros later. Here's a bunch more based on international appearances and stuff like that. And Club America was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, nope, don't want to talk to you. Ain't having it. Don't want to go back to Spain. Love it in Mexico. And I was like, okay, fine. And I went looking around and found Johan Van Berkel. Comes to us from, and I was literally just looking at it, wasn't I? Anderlecht? Eindhoven. 3-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, already as good as or better than Nedolicka. And Nedolicka did a solid job for us last season. I think the problem with Nedolicka, though, is that he is not going to get any better. And as you can see right now, Van Berkel is already better than him in a lot of areas. Nedolicka is a better shot stopper, but he's also 4 years old, 2 years older than Van Berkel. And what is he? He is 3-star current. We can check on him in a minute. I want to say he's 3-star current, 4-star potential. I'm totally clicking on the wrong things. Yeah, Levante made a couple of offers for Sirac, who had absolutely no interest in talking to him. He's got 29 million euro release clause, and they lowballed me. The first time they came in with 1.3, and I said no, and they came back and were like, well, what about this 1.5? I was like, no. Van Berkel's 4.5-star potential ability, which means he's only going to get better. He's going to get almost all the stars. I will start Nedolicka in goal for the cup games and stuff like that. If something happens to Van Berkel, I have no issues starting Nedolicka. I don't think Nedolicka is the long-term keeper this team needs. I sank a ton of money into it. I think Van Berkel is. If not, he is at least good enough to get us top 7 in Indo-European football. And by the way, England has surpassed Spain as number 1 in the world, so they get all the spots. Let me see if I can't find that keeper. Yeah, Israel Munoz. He's Spanish, but he's playing in Mexico. 4.5-star current ability, 5-star potential ability, 2.5 million value. No interest in transferring whatsoever. I could probably throw a ton of money at the wall and he still wouldn't want to come here, and I don't know why. And then the other keeper I found, this was annoying. Alejandro Trejo, about 2 weeks after I signed Van Berkel, is suddenly available. 2-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. If I compare him to Van Berkel right now, he's almost as good as, if not better than him in a couple of areas, and he's a couple years younger. So I've got him on the list just in case. The striker I found, I think I was talking about that at the end of last season. My scout in South America has just been absolutely fabulous, is this kid right here, Helios Cesar, I'm going to do my level best to get him to high-end sometime in the future. 850,000 euros right now, no transfer interest whatsoever. 2-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. Look at those physicals. Look at those mentals. The technicals are solid. He's 17 years old. And so far, I am the only club interested in him. That just blows my mind. I mean, is that, am I reading too much into this already? Knowing that at 17, he's only going to get better? So, yeah, you can see I was really busy scouting this year, or this summer. My top score is an 87. My lowest score is a 44. That's because everybody, and this is just my big short list, that's because all the youngsters who were like in the red. I had one guy come across was a 9. It's not the lowest number I've seen. I have seen a 1 before. And that's back when I was in the French 3rd division and I was scouting 2 divisions up and 2 divisions down. So in one scouting report, I had a guy who was 100 and a guy who was a 1. It was really interesting to see. And yeah, if you looked at their player comparison, it was definitely true. And that is our transfer window. It took me the better part of 2 days to get through, what with all the training and, the trials. They begin with the same 2 letters. I was close. And I think we got some really good players for some really good money. The thing is, we spent 17.75 million euros. Freaking Madrid spent close to 100 million. So, we're going to have to do what we can to claw our way up. This year, it's single-digit mid-table finish. Just a second here. The pundits don't think we can do anything. They've picked us to finish last again. That's behind teams like Villarreal and Celta Vigo, who just came back up, and they were demoted last season. They were demoted. They started last season. Of course, they started last season in La Liga 2, and so they came up, and of course, already one of them was picked to finish 10th. So far, we are turning everything upside down. We've played 2 games. We've won 2 games. And they were both against some quality opponents. I didn't play the most aggressive friendly schedule again. Next year, what I need to do is sit down and plan out a rotation where maybe every 4 days I have a game going. And I start one game with half my A squad and half my B squad. And then 4 days later, I switch and the other half starts. So that way they all get practice. One of the things I totally screwed up on this offseason was starting at the Vallecano game. I went to mostly youngsters and trialists, and I kept mostly youngsters and trialists. And as a result, the first couple of games, my full-time starters were not match fit. We got really, really lucky, though, because Predrag Smilkovic had a hat-trick's worth of goals in 21 minutes. He got 2 goals up 2 minutes apart, and then Pedro Ruiz had a goal in the 73rd minute, which let us beat Sporting 4-0. 16 shots, 10 on target for them. 10 shots, 7 on target for us, and we made them count. This was a solid all-around game by everybody. I think Sporting came in expecting to walk all over us, and we just slapped him in the face, and then we slapped him in the face again. Now, against Bilbao Athletic Club, this was lucky. I will be the first to admit it. Matondo scored in the first minute. Iñaki Williams equalized. Predrag got a second goal in the 41st minute. And Vera equalized, and then Mort had a really nice goal in the 70th minute. We had 11 shots, 7 on target, so did they. Our possession wasn't the best. I did change the formation up a little bit. Let's go to that here real quick. I took the wingbacks off, inverted wingbacks. The center of the field was just getting too crowded, and it left us open to attacks on the wings because they weren't getting back in time. It's also because the central defenders I had last year were not the fastest, but they're on automatic, which means because I'm playing attacking, they're going to be pushed forward more. In terms of defending, we're high. We're not as high as we could be. I'm still not using tighter marking. The core of this was a 4-2-4 that I found online and downloaded and played with on another personal save I got going offline with Palace, and it's not really working really well for Palace. I don't have the the players for that. I have the players for 3-4-3 in Palace, and that was working quite well. And so I changed a few things around that kind of fits my crew, and so far it's doing really well. And that, I think, is going to wrap up this first episode. This particular portion is 30 minutes long, and I can't imagine how long the other ones are. And with some editing, I'm fairly sure I can get it down to maybe 25. So, that said, I got to offer Muhammad a new contract. He went up almost quite a bit everywhere. I did offer him a new contract. Fernandez, final player. Improved coaching team. 260. I've got 261 days to make the coaching team better, Yvonne. Come on. So overall balance-wise, we've got 45 million euros in the bank. We've made a profit of 13 million euros so far. Budget-wise, you know what? I'm going to click on that so you guys can see the numbers a little bit better. We've got 2.1 million euros left out of our transfer budget, but we're really kind of up against it in terms of payroll. So, and I've got a little bit less money in the scouting budget that I'm comfortable with, but, you know, we'll do what we can. So this season, it's 9th place or better. You know, and if we finish 7th place, we get Europa League qualifiers, which would be nice. The extra money would be nice. So we are playing in Granada. The team has not made any noises about building a new stadium, which means we're probably going to be ground sharing for a while. They still are not letting me spend money to improve the youth facilities or the training facilities or the data analysis facilities this year. You know, I suspect I have a better chair, the one I'm sitting in, than my analysts do, and that's really kind of sad. But then again, I'm the gaffer, and this is my chair. So, it is what it is. They'll suffer. We are going to come back and play Sociedad and Betis, and then we'll go from there. So, I'm looking forward to a really good season. I'm really optimistic. Custer had a plan too. If you did like what you've seen and heard, please vote like, subscribe to the channel for more content, questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. I will answer those as fast as I can. My name is FM20.